Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. Tonight's program will begin recording starting in 3, 2, 1. And now, NOIAW's DC Region President, Diana Famia.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's presentation. I think it should be a very interesting one for us all, and we will be all relaxed at the end. Just a few announcements. We have a couple of programs going on in New York on December 12th. The Long Island Network is doing a program on a virtual holiday celebration, and it's featuring a cooking demonstration and a musical accompaniment. And then on the 15th, the Staten Island Museum, along with NOIAW, is doing a program entitled Achieving Autonomy: The Suffragists and Italian American Women. So should be really cool. Also, I would like to mention to folks that the 4 regions of the National Organization of Italian American Women are combining together in January, on January 12th, to do an Epiphany celebration. We are in each of the regions honoring one person, and you'll be getting more information, but I'm telling folks to keep January the 12th, 6:30 on their calendars. And now I would really like to turn it over to Julia Bellotti, who is on the DC Regional Council, has been with us for a number of years since she was an undergraduate. And I would like to turn it over to you, Julia.
All right, thank you, Diana. So I am very excited for tonight's program. I know I have had a pretty stressful week coming back to work after the Thanksgiving holiday, and I'm sure many of you are in the same boat as me. So I think tonight's meditation will be really great. And I'm also really excited to hear from Stacy and learn from her. And then I do want to say that after the meditation, we will have time to do Q&A. So if you do have questions about meditation, if you've never done this before, or if questions come up as we're going through this, save them, keep them in mind. And afterwards, you'll have the chance to either, raise your hand, speak and ask a question, or you can use the Q&A option through Zoom to type and ask your question that way. So we'll handle all of those at the end. But now I do want to introduce Stacy, our star of this evening. Stacy Di Gregorio is the owner of Lotus Heart Mindfulness and leads global women's wellness retreats. She's also a mindfulness educator and yoga instructor based in Tampa, Florida. And I'm actually super pleased that we have her with us, because if it weren't for this virtual environment, we probably wouldn't be able to have her. So I am super appreciative that she's here with us tonight. So she specializes in making meditation accessible to those who think they can't. She has a ton of certifications. To quickly list off them, she's got her Search Inside Yourself certified facilitator, level 1 mindfulness-based stress reduction instructor, and she's also a registered yoga teacher. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Stacy.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. So I thought I'd just do a quick rundown of what I'm going to cover today before we get started. I'm first going to give a brief introduction to mindfulness. So what it is and what it isn't. I'm going to talk about how mindfulness can help us become more resilient through the holidays. I'm going to talk a little bit about the sciencey stuff, a little bit about the vagus nerve and what it is and what it has to do with coping with stress. And then I'm going to guide you through a couple practices, the vagus nerve nurturing practice, which I know sounds weird, but and maybe I'll come up with a fancy, like a catchier name for it one of these days, but it is what it is. I'll explain it when we get there. And then a short mindfulness meditation class, practice. And then questions and comments at the end. So getting started with what is mindfulness? It's really become almost a buzzword these days. I actually saw a Hardee's ad, like the sandwich place for a mindful burger, which anyway, so that's how, that's the extent of mindfulness these days. My favorite definition of mindfulness is from Jon Kabat-Zinn. And Jon Kabat-Zinn is probably the reason why you've even heard of mindfulness. He brought these ancient practices, a lot of them based in Buddhism, and he secularized them and brought them to the University of Massachusetts, the medical school at UMass, back in 1979. And he convinced them to let him do this 8-week course, which is mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is the course I teach. And they did a study about psoriasis, of all things. And they found such a huge benefit. These people with psoriasis found such a huge benefit that they decided to continue on with this course, and the rest is history. Mindfulness, the studies have increased over the years exponentially on the benefits of mindfulness meditation. So his definition of mindfulness is the one that I love the most, and it is that mindfulness is awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. And the non-judgmentally part is really, I think it's really important. I'll make sure I touch on that a little later. So a lot of people ask me what the difference is between mindfulness and meditation, and it's really in the practice. So mindfulness is more of an informal practice. So you can be mindful when you wash your hands, for example, like just paying attention to all the different sensations and of washing your hands. And meditation is a more formal practice. Excuse me, there are many different types of meditation, not just mindfulness meditation. There's the visualization where you imagine yourself in a field or in the ocean. There's all sorts of them. A mantra meditation where you recite something over and over in your head, or transcendental meditation. It was real popular in the 70s. Just to name, those are the most popular ones, I think. But mindfulness meditation is a focused attention practice. So it's taking this attention, which is mindfulness. And today I'll be leading you through a mindful meditation where our focus will be on our breath. So that's really a popular starting point. We're all breathing. It's an easier one to focus on. And so what mindfulness isn't, mindfulness is not a religion. Some of the practices came from ancient religions, but it has no connection to religion in the type of meditation mindfulness that I teach. And it's not all hippie woo-woo. I'm all about hippie woo-woo stuff personally, but this is really, there's so much, as I said before, science behind all of these practices. And it's also not clearing the mind of thought. And that's a common misconception. You don't have to clear your mind of thought. It's also not relaxation spelled differently. So you're not trying to be calm. Calmness and peace and relaxation is often a really wonderful result of being more mindful, but it's not always the case, and it's not necessarily the goal. So how can this help us with resilience through the holidays? It can help us because mindfulness can take us from being on autopilot to being aware. So much of our lives is spent going over what we should have said, we should have done, or worrying about the future or planning. And we're constantly either in one place or another, which is where a lot of the stress can come from. All that stuff we've got going on. And when our minds are in the past or in the future, we're really missing out on the present moment. Because really, the present moment is the only one we have. The past is gone and the future hasn't happened yet. So, and this isn't to say that remembering or reminiscing or planning is bad, but if we're so constantly in our heads, we're not really truly paying attention to what's going on right now. And I think this is so prevalent during the holidays. And then you add a worldwide pandemic and worry about the future and all of the everything that's going on right now. It's just really not doing anybody any favors with the stress. So it's challenging for even, I think even the people that are typically the calm people that I know. And there are so many different scenarios that we're talking about this before the Zoom meeting. There's so many different scenarios that can play out during the holidays, from ruminating on painful past holidays, or wishing this one could be different, or making up conversations in your head to get ready for when that one relative with different political views goes down that rabbit hole with you. That's oddly specific, but so there's a quote. This brings me to a quote that I love, and it's author Stephen Covey's quote, and he summarized Viktor Frankl's teachings. And Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor. He was author of Man's Search for Meaning and creator of logotherapy. And here's the quote. He says, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and freedom." I'll read it again because I really like this. "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." So mindfulness gives us that space to choose. It allows us to really pay attention to what is actually happening at this moment. And during the holidays, it can make space for an opening to all of the possibilities that might present themselves in any moment. So, for example, maybe if every other holiday was so horrible for you, bringing awareness to how you're feeling in this moment without all the stories and all the up in your head kind of stuff, it can really open up and be very freeing. So this brings us to the vagal nurturing practice that I learned of this really recently, and it just resonated with me so much. Because mindful meditation is really not about finding, like getting relaxed, but this particular practice can help you tap into the parasympathetic nervous system and get instant relaxation or instant ease to stress. So the vagus nerve, when I was talking to my husband about the vagus nerve, and he thought it was Las Vegas, but it's V-A-G-U-S, not Vegas, as in Las Vegas, just to clarify. So the vagus nerve is responsible for our parasympathetic responses. So that rest and digest response, which can be thought of as opposite the sympathetic response, the fight. See if I can say this without stuttering. The fight, flight, freeze, or faint response. I did it. So we're so often in this state of fight, flight, freeze, or faint because of stress. And what's happening is our amygdala in our brain, which is an old part of our brain, is constantly scanning the environment for threats. So these are real threats or imagined threats. So when the amygdala senses a threat, so say a bear is chasing us, so like an actual threat to our lives, or a perceived threat, maybe a massive deadline we have, or even speaking in public, your body goes right into fight, flight, freeze, or faint response. And it does a few things to our bodies. it cuts off the thinking part of our brain. So the prefrontal cortex part of our brain that thinks through all the possible answers. Because if you're really being chased by a bear, you need to just go. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense. Again, if you're being chased by something or something really horrible is happening that you need to save your own life, your muscles tense. Your adrenal glands produce adrenaline. So I think we all know what that feels like if you've ever been in a stressful situation. So, but the problem is that our brains can't tell the difference from an actual threat and a threat of speaking in public. So sometimes we stay in that heightened state of stress, which I know that this is not news to you. You know what it feels like to be stressed. And I'm sure you know all the health challenges that come along from being stressed. So this technique that I'm going to show you, it helps to stimulate the vagus nerve. And that will help you, hopefully, get into a state of parasympathetic response. So when you're feeling stressed, a little quicker. I've started practicing this every day and I love it. So here we go. I'd like everybody to give this a try. So first, we're going to massage our ears. So this might feel really weird to you to be massaging your ears, but I just invite you to give it a try. Just massage your ears for a little bit. So one of the first things that we do, even when we're babies, is we're soothed by our parents' voices. So when you're massaging your ears, you're telling your vagus nerve that it's okay, that you're safe. So it's the first step. So just take a moment, give your ears a little pull. I think it feels kind of nice. And then once we hear that we are safe, our bodies will look around to make sure that we can see that we're safe. So I'm going to have you rub your palms together, generate a little warmth, and then bring your palms over your eyes and just rest them there for a moment. Maybe sensing the darkness covering your eyes so that your body knows there's nothing to worry about, that it is safe. And just rest here for a couple moments. And then from here, bring your hands to the side of your face and just cradle your face. As if someone that cares deeply about you is cradling your face. If you'd like, you can take a deep breath in, a deep exhale, maybe settling into your shoulder, relaxing your shoulders a bit. And then the next step is to move your hands down to your heart. You can place both hands over your heart to feel that you are safe. Maybe feeling the gentle pressure of your hands against your heart. Maybe you can feel your heartbeat. And just resting here for a bit. And then from here, bringing your hands to your belly. So once you hear you're safe, you see you're safe, you feel you're safe, then you're able to rest and digest. So just once again, hanging out here for a moment. And then the last step is to bring your hands, palms up to your lap, and being open to receive what you wish, whatever it is you wish. You can close your eyes for a moment if you'd like. Just breathing in and breathing out here. And then you can turn your palms back over if you'd like. And we're going to go right into, I like to do the vagus practice before a meditation, because I think especially on days when I'm super jittery, especially nervous, it helps bring me down a little bit. Excuse me. So I'm going to lead you through a meditation. I'm going to have you just get in a comfortable seat. Place your feet on the floor if you're able to. A lot of people think you have to sit on a cushion on the floor. You don't. Just allow your spine to be tall. So you want to have a posture that's dignified, that supports wakefulness. So sometimes I imagine that my spine is a string of pearls and there's a string at the crown of my head. So elongating my spine. And here, take a deep breath in. And with an exhale, check back in with those shoulders. And if you'd like, you can close your eyes. And if that doesn't feel comfortable for you, you can just lower your gaze a little bit. Maybe looking at the floor a few feet in front of you. And get a sense of yourself sitting here. Maybe feel what your feet feel like on the floor. Notice the bend in your knees. Notice the bend in your hips. Maybe feeling your thighs touching the seat where you're sitting. Maybe feeling the weight of your seat in the chair or couch. And feeling your torso tall, but not rigid. Shoulders soft. No, your arms and hands can be resting wherever is comfortable for you. Maybe even checking in with your face and unfurrowing your brow, just allowing it to soften, softening the area around your eyes. And relaxing your jaw. And then turning your attention to your breath. What does your breath feel like right now? There's no need to change it. Just notice. And where do you notice your breath the most vividly? Where's the first place you notice your breath when I say pay attention to breath? Is it in your nostrils? And if so, maybe noticing the cool air coming in and the warm air leaving. Or maybe you're resting your awareness at your rib cage. Feeling the sensations of breath in your rib cage, expansion when you inhale, contraction when you exhale. Or maybe in your diaphragm, maybe you're noticing your belly expand and contract with every breath. See if you can pay attention to one full cycle of breath. The full inhale, little tiny pause between the inhale and exhale. And a little tiny pause at the bottom of the exhale before you inhale again. And when you start thinking, which you will because it's what brains do, it's what minds do, it's totally okay. When you notice that you're thinking, all you need to do is redirect your attention to your breath. And do this with kindness and do this with non-judgmentalness, not like, oh, I'm thinking again. Just a gentle back to the breath. Noticing the inhale, noticing the exhale. And if you have to redirect your attention 1,000 times, it's totally fine. That's why they call this a practice. If it helps, you can do a noting practice. So as you inhale, you can think to yourself, inhaling. And as you exhale, think exhaling. And when you notice that you're thinking, you can just say silently to yourself, thinking. So simply breathing in and breathing out. Other distractions might come up other than thinking. Maybe a sound takes your attention away. That's okay too. The moment that you notice that you've been distracted is a moment of mindfulness. That's an awareness. Like, oh, I'm thinking again. And bring back to your breath. Just breathing in and breathing out. Purging your thoughts that distract or distractions with curiosity, with kindness, and a gentle redirection back to your breath. You might also notice that there's a little discomfort. You're feeling a little fidgety, your emotions come up. It's another thing to just be curious about, like, I really want this to end, or my back kind of hurts, whatever it might be. Just paying attention to whatever it is that's going on right now. The thoughts are not reality. They're just thoughts. And I love reading a poem at the end of a meditation. This one's by Dana Falls. You can keep your eyes closed for this or keep your gaze lowered. It's called Let It Go. Let go of the ways you thought life would unfold. The holding of plans or dreams or expectations. Let it all go. Save your strength to swim with the tide. The choice to fight what is here before you now will only result in struggle, fear, and desperate attempts to flee from the very energy you long for. Let go. Let it all go and flow with the grace that washes through your days, whether you received it gently or with all your quills raised to defend against invaders. Take this on faith. The mind may never find the explanations that it seeks, but you will move forward nonetheless. Let go, and the wave's crest will carry you to unknown shores beyond your wildest dreams or destinations. Let it all go and find the place of rest and peace and certain transformation. So I'll just let you sit for a couple more moments in silence, and I'm going to ring a bell when it's time to open your eyes. Thank you, everyone, for meditating along with me. I would really love to know how this was for you. I would love to know how the experience was, especially if you are a first-time meditator. Let me see, you can drop a note into the, let me find it here on my screen. I know there's a question and answer.
Yep. So thank you, Stacy. That was super helpful. I know I've done a little bit of yoga in the past, but to start us off, the question that I have is I know it sometimes can be difficult to fit in, little meditations and whatever throughout the day. And there are a lot of like mobile apps and stuff out there. Are there any that you recommend in particular, or any that you kind of gravitate towards that you'd recommend to the group?
Yeah, I really love Insight Timer. It's, I believe it's free. You can either do like a free or a paid version of it. It's fantastic. And I actually have a couple meditations on there.
Oh, cool.
So like a little plug for my own meditations. But yeah, I really like Insight Timer. And as far as finding a way to fit it in, that Insight Timer is really a great way because you can just set the little timer, and it has a little bowl sound too, so you can choose your bowl sound. But it's a set timer, so you don't have to worry about taking too much time or yeah.
Great.
I also recommend that people set a date, put an appointment on the calendar, and make it an appointment for yourself to be with yourself.
Awesome. So you've got a question here from Janine Laferno. Do you work with expecting mothers?
I do. I haven't specifically worked with expecting mothers before, but yeah, I'm happy to work with this expecting mothers. I think it's a great thing to do. Yeah. I do a lot of corporate meditations recently. It's been much needed in the workplace. So that's kind of my going thing that I do most. But expecting mothers, yeah, that would be a great thing. I do a lot of private and private group meditations. It's easier on Zoom too.
Definitely makes sense. And I will invite people, if you do want to speak up and talk a little bit about, if this was your first time and want to see how it is, you can go to the participants panel and raise your hand, and I'll, see that you're raising your hand and can call on you. And we can go that way if that works, if people don't want to type, if it's too much to type. We're always happy to do discussion that way as well. So we've got a question here from Eileen. I appreciate the encouraging words you shared towards the end of that session. Letting go is not necessarily passive or giving up. That was great. And her question is, the Vietnamese peace activist and monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, I don't know if I'm...
Not Han, yeah, that's good.
Okay. Now 94, is an amazing teacher of mindfulness grounded in Zen Buddhism. Have you ever met him, or what are your thoughts about his approach?
I haven't met him. I haven't even gotten to see him speak. I would love to. I don't know if he's even touring or speaking in public anymore. I know he's gone through some health trouble. He's old. So I don't know him. Actually, there's a teacher in Tampa who's a Buddhist teacher who received his I don't know what they call it, something from Thich Nhat Hanh. He's in that same Buddhist, not sect is not the right word, but anyhow. So I hope that answers your question. I hope that answers your question, Eileen. I don't know much about his. I've read some of his books, and I think they're really wonderful. So I recommend them.
Great. We do have a comment here from Carmela. Thank you very much. Great session. Necessary now to take time out for ourselves. Most women do not do self-care. And I know that I personally hear self-care thrown around a lot these days. So I don't know if you have any comments on that compared with meditation, or how both of them complement each other.
It's funny, I was just talking to a friend of mine about this today, how my generation, and I'm sure people weren't taught to take care of themselves. You have to endure whatever you can endure, and if you take a day to take a nap, it's seen as something so terrible, and how could you be so selfish and lazy? But really taking 10 minutes to sit and meditate, I think is really important. So I think we're learning that it's okay to take care of yourself. It's not selfish. Like filling your own, putting your own oxygen mask on before you put it on the person next to you.
Definitely makes sense. We have another question here. I'm very interested in the power of art therapy and its effectiveness for differently abled children. Do you find meditation is helpful for differently abled learners as well?
Yeah, and I actually know some teachers who specialize in teaching meditation for differently able. I just got this really great deck of cards for kids that it's called Little Renegades. And it's just this sweet set of ways for kids to pay attention, like teaching them how to pay attention. It's really cute. I just got it in the mail today. So it looks really great. I think that could help at differently abled learners too.
What would you say is the youngest that you would recommend? I'd say someone starting meditation. Could this be, a child and parent thing that people do, or is there a certain age when people, I guess, need to have enough cognition to, think about recognizing their sensations and what they're doing?
Yeah, and I think you can start kids off really, really early, because and not necessarily with a seated formal meditation like we practice, but even teaching them how to be more mindful in the world. So my washing your hands idea, maybe eliciting responses from the kids about what does the water feel like to you? So they're noticing that. They're bringing their attention from whatever it is that's going on in your head to what's actually happening right now. And that can be I have a practice called, it's a raisin exercise, that you eat a raisin, you look at it, you turn it over, you smell it, you squeeze it and listen to it in your ear. It's from the NBSR mindfulness-based stress reduction course. And then you put it on your mouth without chewing it. And so it just teaches you to pay attention. Like very often when I eat raisins, I just cram them, take handfuls of them. So I think that I think you can teach kids to do that, just to be more mindful in everyday life. Yeah, at a very young age.
Awesome. We've got another question here. Is chakra healing a part of the mindful meditation technique?
It isn't. It isn't. It's, it's a lot of people work with chakras and crystals, and but it's part of the yoga system more than it is the mindfulness meditation. Really, truly, mindfulness is just, it's awareness, period. And if you would like to use, if you know about the chakra system and you want to bring attention to the different chakras in your body, those are they're for those of you who don't know, they're energy centers, different parts of your body. There's a throat chakra, heart chakra, all up and down. So if you want to bring awareness to that part of your body, then you certainly can. You might notice different sensations in those parts of your body.
Very cool. Another question here. What inspired you to pursue this career and your passion for mindful meditation and healing?
That's a good question. I suffer from pretty bad anxiety. And it's funny because when I started practicing yoga 20 years ago, it really helped. And then it really, really helped my anxiety. And then I became a Thai massage therapist, and part of our training was to meditate. So I just noticed such a huge difference. And then when I took my first MBSR course, and I knew that this was it. And I also, when I taught yoga, when I teach yoga, I noticed that when I tack on a little meditation at the end of the yoga class, the whole energy of the class just goes, and people leave with a much different experience. So it's just a whole combo of all of those things that really, I knew that this was my thing.
Very cool. And a question about your kind of Italian heritage,
Yeah.
This is
Yes.
for the National Organization of Italian American Women. Where is your family from? How is your Italian upbringing? Has any of that, worked its way into your meditations or intentions or anything like that?
So I'm Italian by marriage. And my ancestry.com shows not even 2% Italian. So my husband's family is from Abruzzo region of Italy. Yeah, so I can't speak to that. I do teach. So Elizabeth Di Gregorio is my aunt. Well, she's my husband's aunt, but she's my aunt too now. So, but I teach her and my husband. So I get the Italians in my family meditating, and my father-in-law too. So, yeah.
Good. We're intercultural connectedness.
Yep.
Today, so bringing everyone together.
Yeah.
We do have a comment here, just a thank you for sharing your story here from Eileen at NOIAW. And then we also did include a link to the Lotus Heart Mindfulness.com there in the chat box. So if you do want to learn more about Stacy and her work, you can go ahead and check it out. I don't know if we've got any kind of final questions here before we wrap up. We did have a couple last minute questions here. How do you entice a stubborn dad to pursue mindful meditation?
Oh, that's a tough one. I have a stubborn husband that he's gotten so much better. You can't make somebody meditate that doesn't want to meditate, flat out. You just can't. But you might be able to convince them to sit with you and give it a little try. There are some great, on Insight Timer has great short meditations that you can, like, I recommend starting, if you're going to try to get a stubborn person to meditate. There is like just a couple minutes, you could do like a couple minute meditation, just starting really short. Also, there's a great book by a guy named Dan Harris. He was I think NBC news anchor, and he had a panic attack on national television. And he is a great, he talks about mindfulness. He's written 2 books, Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics, and I'll do this poem. Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics and 10% Happier. Those are the 2 books that he wrote. And those are great for the stubborn person. So the name of the poem is by Dana Falls. Let me find it. It's on my computer. And I believe it's called Let It Go. And it's Dana, it's Danna Falls, Faulds. I love it. I think it's beautiful.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we're all, I personally liked the talking about the space in between the stimulus and the response quote as well. I thought that was really nice.
That's a good one too. I love that. Somebody wrote about the stubborn dad. Setting up a meditation space is a good first step too. Yeah. Oh, that sounds nice. Great ideas on the internet if you have a good meditation space. That's very good. And I haven't seen the Kay Turner's book on women's altar building. Oh, that sounds lovely. Beautiful necessity. I'm gonna write that down.
That's good. We're all learning today.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic.
All right. Any truly final questions here?
Now, or I'm open. If you have a question for me, reach out through my website. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. That might be it.
I think we've got them all. So thank you, Stacy.
Thanks for having me. I really love it.
Yeah, really great. And again, we did record this. And I believe, or someone can correct me, I believe we'll have this somewhere or send it out so you can view the recording again if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now. But thank you all for